Welcome to the Fleet Geeks podcast. We're here to help develop fleet and transport professionals. Do you want to progress and develop your skills and knowledge? We promise to bring lively conversation and debate around interesting issues and keep you bang up to date with changes in our awesome industry. The Fleet Geeks are a community of professionals, and if you enjoy the podcast, why not join the discussion for free in the Fleet Geek community over on Facebook?
Hello and welcome to today's Fleet Geeks podcast. It's lovely to see you all. Let me just move this over here because that's going to be easier for me to see you. Right, perfect. Today I'm talking about the changes to Driver CPC. There's so many changes going on at the moment. New guide to maintaining roadworthiness, operator license audit, guidance come out, and now the Driver CPC changes. So what's the change? Well, from the 3rd of December, which by the time this comes out, will have already occurred. I'm actually recording this on the 2nd of December. It's going to come out next week on the 9th. Driver CPC is changing, right? To be an HGV driver or a bus or coach driver, you need to have CPC. In 2023, the government consulted on making changes to the Driver CPC, and that means now Driver CPC is not going to be scrapped. That was the common belief that was what was going to happen, but it's not going to be scrapped. There are some changes to increase levels of flexibility for people who drive in the UK. So don't ask me my opinion on these changes. I think there's a real opportunity to revamp the whole thing, but here we are with the changes. So as from the 3rd of December, we'll be able to choose how to stay qualified. You can either go for an international driver CPC or the national driver CPC. International or national. The international driver CPC is basically the new name for how CPC has always been done. You take 35 hours of approved driver CPC training every 5 years, and that allows you to be able to work in the EU and in the UK too. There's no changes to how this works. So you can either do a 7-hour-long course, or you can split a course over 2 consecutive days. You're allowed to do a total of 12 hours worth of e-learning towards your overall 35 hours worth of training. Okay, so glad that's understood. That's what the old school style was, and that will still exist. Additionally, there's going to be National Driver CPC, which is going to be the new way and is more flexible than the previous version of the Driver CPC. And this is only for drivers who want to drive in the UK. And you'll be able to take either 35 hours of National Driver CPC training every 5 years, a combination of 35 hours and into 35 hours of National CPC and International Driver CPC. So you could either do only one or you can do one or the other. The new flexibility also means that National Driver CPC courses must be 3.5 hours long. You can still offer longer courses if we want to, but you can do a 3.5-hour course. So no longer do you have to do 7-hour courses. However, if you were to do the 3.5-hour courses, you'd need to do 10 of them to get your 35 hours. You don't need to complete those half-day courses over 2 consecutive days. If the course is split, you're free to set our own time limit. So basically, we can reduce the length of courses if we go for the National Driver CPC. You can do e-learning also, so only e-learning. For example, you can take an approved 3.5-hour long e-learning course at your workplace or home. So that 3.5-hour course, so you could do 10 e-learnings rather than doing it in person. Allow you to do a total of 12 hours e-learning towards your overall 35 hours of training. Okay, so you can do a full e-learning module, but you only need to do 12 hours. Sorry, I'm still familiarising myself with this guidance as well. So the e-learning part, you can do a full 3.5-hour course, but you're only allowed to do a total of 12 hours worth of e-learning. The remaining 23 hours of your training has to be face-to-face. So there is a difference between e-learning and online. So e-learning is when you do an actual online course, course that's pre-recorded, and you sit and do that. Obviously, online Zoom is a normal face-to-face course, but it's just delivered via a video platform. So the different options. The different options are you can either do the national or the international. The deadline is still the same, and obviously there is a fine still of £1,000 for anyone driving without a CPC.
Hello, it's Shani from Flagship Partners. We are really proud to sponsor the Fleet Geeks podcast. If you need expert advice or training for your fleet business, make Flagship Partners your first choice. We are really excited to announce the launch of our Transport Manager Academy. With expert development for fleet leaders, we offer fully accredited National Transport Manager CPC training, CPC refresher, and operator license awareness training, as well as mentoring, support, and professional development beyond the qualification. Our vision is to develop elite fleet professionals.
So yeah, changes from the 1st of February. If your international National Driver CPC expired up to 2 years ago, if you're wanting to return, you've got 4 options. Option 1 is to do an international driver CPC, so you do your normal 35 hours. Option 2 is to do your national driver CPC, take 35 hours. Option 3 is a international driver CPC training with a return to driving module. So you take a 7-hour return to driving training module and start driving professionally again straight away in the UK. You need to take the other 28 hours of training within the next 12 months of finishing the return to driving module. That will allow you to drive obviously in the UK, and you're not allowed to do driving in the EU until those 28 hours are done. And the final option is National Driver CPC training with a return to driving module. So take a 7-hour return to driving training module, start driving professionally straight away in the UK, and make sure you take the rest of the 28 hours within the next 12 months. So if it's expired more than 2 years ago, then you need to do the full 35 hours before you're able to drive. So there is this thing about it lapsing where we're trying to get people back in within 2 years of training. And the driver CPC cards are not going to be changing. You still need to make sure you carry it. So that is that. There will be basically a full-blown bottom bit on your driver CPC, domestic UK use only for the National Driver CPC qualification. I hope that all makes sense. Does it? Is it clear as mud? Have I made it clear? I hope I have. There is a link in the show notes that you can have a look at. Obviously, if you want to ask me or ask Flagship, then you absolutely can. Yeah, there's lots of different options there for people. I think this is really interesting, the return to driving module. I don't really know how I feel about the return to driving module and people being able to drive. If they've just done the 1 year and then they do the remaining, it sort of extends the overall period for the training. But who knows, right? It might work for some companies. I'm interested to know what companies are going to go for the National Driver CPC rather than the international standard that we had previously. There's some options there for people, but are we going to want to have 2 standards of drivers in our organisation, national and international? And what other challenges is it going to bring around recruitment, for example? Are drivers going to want to go for the national option or the international? If you've got to do 35 hours anyway, maybe it's just going to be easier to go for the international version. Who knows? But I'm really interested to see how this pans out and what the feedback is. And please do let me know what your thoughts are as well. But hopefully that makes sense. There's going to be 2 standards. International is still the old way and will always be the way. And then you're going to have this new National Driver CPC standard where you don't have to do the 7 hours all at once. You can just do 3.5-hour sessions. And then obviously if you're returning to drive within 2 years of your CPC expiring, there's a fast track route doing that single module. But you still need to do the other 4 days over the next 12-month period. How are you going to manage that? That's completely up to you. So, transport managers, really interested to hear the conversation. What do you think? How are we going to manage these new changes? What do you reckon? Anyway, lovely chatting, and I'll see you all on the next one. Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please share with your friends and colleagues too. Join us for free on Facebook with the Fleet Geeks community for transport and fleet managers. Fleet Geeks offers ongoing professional development, networking and mentoring too. So get in touch with me, Pete Rushmer, on any social media platform to find out more.